but you know she had to leave. She turned my whole world upside down and inside out. That girl is crazy. You better watch your back. She took all I had, every penny to my given name. She stole my heart with everything that I had gained. She turned my whole world upside down and inside out. That girl is crazy. You better watch your back. Now I'm alone, and you know I want her back, but she's long gone with everything that's dear to me. She turned my whole world upside down and inside out. That girl is crazy. You better watch your back.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Welcome back.
I'm so happy to be back.
Hey, guess what?
Wait, what?
Oh. Well, first you go. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say it's my favorite holiday. I get
It's
to
also
dress
my
up
favorite
in my myriad of onesies, and today I'm an axolotl.
I freaking love axolotls, and you look adorable as an axolotl. I
Thank
think you
you.
were actually meant to be an axolotl.
I think so too.
Yeah, maybe a past life.
I would say that about you, but you're a skeleton right now, and that would be kind of weird if I was like, you're meant to be a skeleton.
Honestly, I think I am.
You're like, I'm just dead inside. I'm just a bunch of bones.
It's true. I've been channeling, and this is kind of gross, but I am channeling this part's not gross, but I'll tell you the part that is gross. I've been channeling Phoebe Bridgers for the past 3 days. That last part is the gross part because I literally have not changed.
Oh, I was
for
like,
3 days.
I didn't think that was gross because I just assumed you had some outfit changes. Like there were some multiple Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah, I mean, like my hair is wet, so clearly, like I've taken a shower, but like I continue to go back to the skeleton onesie
Yeah.
over and over again because I love it. And
Well, if it makes you feel better, I've been some form of amphibian for the past week.
well, that's great.
I'm just
I love
kidding.
that for you.
I'm just
So
kidding.
if you well, I mean, if you are an amphibian for the fall months, let's say, does that mean that you like have to go underground into like a little bubble?
Like a mud pit?
Yeah, isn't that what they do?
That sounds
Like the
scientifically
frogs and
sound.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
That's
I
why
mean,
you
that
don't
sounds
see any
great.
frogs during the winter, but they'd freeze, right? Because they're made of water.
Exactly. So I mean, more power to you. That's awesome.
I need to get into my mud hole. I'll do that
Yeah.
immediately after this recording. which I
I
heard was especially spooky in honor of
oh,
Halloween.
I hope you're ready to be scared because this gets real bad real quick. So,
I love this. I love all of
um,
this.
yes. Well, I mean, for spooky season, for our favorite holiday, I decided to choose my ultimate scary story. This is the story that got me into true crime, and kind of changed my perspective in a lot of ways. You know, so I think I have to give away at this point that I'm a native New Mexican. I come from rural New Mexico, from a town of 8,000. Um, I know, shocker.
You seem so cultured.
So, our one listener from Germany, you'll have to deal with that.
We have a
But
German listener?
we do, we
Shut
do. We have.
up.
I know. I should share our analytics with you at some point, but I think I sent you the password so you at least know it.
I don't
It's
know. Probably.
ABCD1234. Yeah, that's the one. So,
I'm like super glad you're airing this all out loud.
yeah, exactly. So now everyone can get in. So, but I should say, I guess, like at the top of this, so this is our 10th episode, which is I'm super stoked about because I don't know the last time I've done 10 things in a row.
Never. 10
So,
crunches, 10 pull-ups, all
no.
impossible, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. So I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So
This shows
anyway,
commitment.
I think so. I think so. So at this point, we have shared our email address, and I'm going to share it just in case anyone wants to write in. Anybody who has an idea for us to cover, any questions or anything like that. Our email address is footsie666 at gmail.com.
When did we make that?
That was during our OnlyFans phase when we were going to.
Oh, yeah.
So it may change in the future. We may actually have like a Sunday Sinners Gmail account, but for now,
It's super classy.
with our OnlyFans. So, and that's spelled FOOTSIE and Tootsie TOOTSIE. And for the longest time, I was mixing up the two and calling it Tootsie Footsie. It's footsie tootsie 666 at gmail.com. Anyway, so that's our email account. If anybody wants to get a hold of us, especially after this very disturbing episode that we have coming up in front of us. So like I said, getting into this. So I'm from a rural town, and the town about an hour south of me is called Elephant Butte, and that is Butte. So of course, as a kid, it was butt always.
Always.
Elephant
Still
butt.
is. Still is.
Yeah. It kind of did look like an elephant butt. It's a reservoir.
Yeah.
As a kid, we would call it the lake because being from New Mexico, there's literally zero bodies of water around us. It was the only body of water that we had. So we would go down to the lake and we would go camping. Actually, there was one summer, I guess it was, when all of the parents were drinking, and we had a guy step on a nail all the way through his foot.
Ew.
So, yeah.
Did he get tetanus?
I think they took him to the hospital. I don't know who is not drunk to drive. It's probably my mom, to be honest. So, but I think they took him to the hospital. He got a tetanus shot. He survived. So,
but lost a foot.
But, well, I don't know that. I'm not sure. I was like,
can we just say he did? It makes him really good.
You're right. Okay, yeah, he did lose a foot, maybe 2 feet. Both of his feet are gone.
Both feet.
Yeah, they just took the other one off for good measure.
Yeah, they were like, you don't need both feet. If you're not going to have both feet, you might as well have no feet.
Exactly. Lose one appendage. I mean, you gain more dates that way. Like the ladies, they start to like you a little bit more because you're a little bit pathetic.
You're a little bit
That's my type, personally.
You're very Lieutenant Dan, you know.
Yeah. We all love a Lieutenant Dan. So,
oh yeah.
So Elephant Butte, the lake, as we knew it, was uh, so there was a rumor that was going around when I was a kid that there were a bunch of bodies in the lake. And so, this was even before any of this other stuff came out, because it was just such a vast body of water. It was the only body of water, and lots of things got turned up on the shores. I think a couple of like appendages at some point got washed ashore. So it was just it's kind of a creepy place. So Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. You've been there?
I have. It's
It's
a lovely
used to be
place.
Hot Spring. Yeah, named after a game show, like any good small town.
Right.
Has a really good brewery, honestly, and the hot springs are, pretty dope, I would say.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this is where this all takes place, and we're gonna
Wait,
get into the
what?
story
This
now.
true crime takes place just right outside our home?
This is my hometown murder. So and it is multiple murders, and spoiler alert: this guy did not go to trial for murder.
What? Oh, what? Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
into
so
it.
we'll get into this. Okay. All right. So this is Elephant Butte. This is the 90s, Elephant Butte, New Mexico. So middle of the desert. There is a couple. And so I'm going to set the scene for you. There's a saloon called Blue Water Saloon.
Okay.
You walk in, it's dusty. It looks like a Quentin Tarantino scene. You
Okay.
can see it, right? Like we're looking like dusk to dawn, something like that.
Yeah.
And you look around, there's this couple sitting at the bar, and they're like having a good time. You go up, you're having a fight with your boyfriend at the time, and you're just like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna go sit at the bar. I'm gonna go talk to these couple that seem kind of weird, but I'll go talk to them. So you sit at the bar, you get like your, whiskey neat. Would that be you?
I'm more of a silver tequila with a slice of orange, but
Oh, look at
but
you,
I've
Caribbean.
also yeah, I've also been, let's see, over 2 months sober now.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
super excited about it. And I've already lost weight. Isn't it freaking amazing?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I know.
So wild. But
Um,
yeah, but back in my day, if I were to pick a poison, and I'm about to get a little too specific here, it would be silver milagro. And it would be not only chilled, but it would be served with a slice of orange with honey drizzled over it and cinnamon sprinkled on
cinnamon.
top. Yep, yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. And you take that shot, like shots. I don't
One.
sip tequila. I do the shot of tequila and then I eat the orange and then I move on to my next one. Well, that's what I used to do. So,
Okay.
anyways, I'm doing that at the bar with this
You're
weird
you're doing your
couple.
shots of tequila. You're doing your Caribbean shots of tequila. You're not doing your New Mexican shots of tequila because that is unheard of in New Mexico.
I
It
know,
is
they like their
a
stupid lime. Ugh.
yeah,
It
lime and
makes my
salt.
face pucker like my butthole.
I mean, I can almost taste, well, not the butthole, but I can
Oh, I was
taste
gonna
it.
say, I was like, wow, when did you do that?
Yeah,
That one
no,
time I woke up unconscious and
no,
it tickled
never.
a little downstairs.
Like, where were you?
Brittany.
I know, scary.
Oh, sorry, I said
Um,
your name. Oops. I
it's
suck.
okay. It's literally written right there. So,
Oh well.
um,
Okay. Anyways, back on track.
yeah. All right. So we're in Elephant Butte, New Mexico, at the Blue Water Saloon,
Yeah, with the weird
and the couple
couple.
with a weird couple, and they're starting to talk to you. I don't know if this is a common experience. It's at least something that I've experienced. I imagine you probably have too, where there's a weird couple who's like, they're trying to, get into your pants together, and you're like, how do I get out of this situation? And you don't, in this
Oh,
case. Yeah. So what was happening in the 90s was this couple were taking women back from Blue Water Saloon back to their home. that they shared together in very desolate area, and they had a trailer that they had spent $100,000, which to me, I'm like, where did you get that money in the 90s in New Mexico?
And
I
what
mean, none of
kind
us
of
had that kind of
trailer
money.
was this? Did it have a golden throne? Like on the inside, the bed was made of ivory. Like,
It was, well, we're gonna get into that.
oh
It was a
boy,
different
oh my
kind
god,
of
did I just hit
throne.
on something gross? Ew, oh, ew. Okay, go.
You did. All right, so this is the $100,000. It was they later termed it Satan's Den, and it had all kinds of medical and non-medical devices inside of it, including a gynecological chair, and a bunch of really gross, like like speculums and just really awful things. There was a mirror on top of the uh, ceiling so that the people that they had taken in could
Can
see
watch
the torture that
themselves.
was, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So, hmm so taking this a step back from Satan's Den, we're going to talk about David Parker Ray. So he is the most evil human being that I think I could ever imagine. And I've thought a lot about how to cover this story with dignity and and to justify the story, because I've listened to a lot of podcasts on this story. I listen to a lot of podcasts generally, obviously, but I I've had a really hard time with the way that this story has been covered, because I just don't think that the people who are covering it really kind of understand where the story came from, who these women were and what was really going on at the time. And so, I, like, this is going to sound so bitter, and I'm sorry for it. I'm in my villain era, and I'm not going to apologize about that part of it. But there are parts of me that are a little bit bitter about the way that things are portrayed, especially in the true crime community. So there's, the white women, as we are, you know,
Right.
but they tend to be like very pearl clutching, like, oh my God, the vapors, I can't believe that this happened. And that's just, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I was born in New Mexico. I was born with a chip on my shoulder. And so these kind of stories like kind of don't phase me. And I'm sure, same for you, but I think that, I want to kind of talk more about the women who this happens to, as well as like the circumstances in which this kind of thing happens. So, like, I think very clearly, like, we have to stop acting shocked that this kind of crime happens, right? Because it
Right.
happens all the time.
This is literally a fear. I don't even know what's going on yet, but as a woman, when I leave my house every single day, I these are very real to me. Like it's not like I'm daydreaming the worst case scenario. These are actually things that happen to women on a daily basis, and we have to be on guard at all times.
Right, right. And, it's less likely to happen to certain demographics of women than others. And so, in looking at like critically at the true crime community, and I think it's still true today that a lot of it, is about these beauty queen types who come from affluent means, and, who could have expected that to happen.
Right.
But the reality is that it happens on a daily basis for a lot of women, and a lot of women that are involved in these kinds of stories.
Mhm.
So, we, I guess, like, looking back at serial killers, there's a lot of them that choose their victims, and they choose their victims based on whether or not they think that they're going to be discovered, right? So, as an example, and this will come full circle in a minute, actually probably at the end. But you've heard of Samuel Little, right?
Yeah.
So he went undetected for a really long time. He is probably the most prolific serial killer that there is out there.
Right.
And I know this is getting twisty, windy, but like this is just the way that my brain works, and I'm just gonna keep rolling with it.
We got
So
ADD, folks. Get used to it.
yeah, I promise you, it will make our way there, but it's
Yeah.
gonna take us a minute to get there. So Samuel Little is one of the most prolific serial killers. Like I said, he died, but he before he died, he talked about all of the women that he had killed. He'd killed over 90 women, and
Right.
he made pictures of them, right? And so one of the women was someone from New Mexico, actually, and is involved in this story directly.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and I am not actually going to tell that story because it's not my story to tell. But I have reached out to the woman who um, I've met, and I know her um, personally. So she hasn't gotten back with me. I do want to have her tell her story, or at least give us permission to tell it if she doesn't want to, because I'm sure she's probably tired of it.
Mhm.
It is quite the story to tell. But in any case, there's New Mexico ties. But the point is, about all of this, and wrapping this, like I said, into a full circle about the pearl clutching, is that a lot of women live on the streets, and 50% of them have been raped, right? And they have a way higher chance of being murdered than any other women. And you have a greater likelihood to go into poverty as a single mother, as a woman, than you do as a man. Life on the streets is really fucking hard for women, and we're all this close to being there. Like I truly believe that. As much as I'm, comfortable in my own house as you are, but I keep it very close to me to know that, I've personally been very close to being there. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if you have, but um, it's something that we have to kind of reckon with, and to deal with the fact that we have to stop pretending, this is getting back to it, that this is happening in a vacuum, and this is happening to you know uh who could have expected this to happen. No,
Mhm.
it happens all the time. Like,
Yeah.
this is something that is a daily um experience for a lot of women. And it's tragic and it's horrible, and like, we live in America, and to think that there are this many women on the street who are suffering the way that these women are suffering.
Mhm.
So getting to the victims that David Ray David Parker Ray. I always mix those two up, but anyway, David Parker Ray was picking, as many serial killers did, obviously picking sex workers, right?
Right.
Um, so to put this into perspective, because one of the podcasts that I listened to really offended me, and I really wanted to like drive this home, is that um, people, we talk, especially like white feminists, like start talking about um, sex work as being empowering, and wanting that to be some kind of like agency. The truth is that many women who go into sex work do so out of necessity. They don't do it because it's something that they're like, I'm so empowered, I'm just
Right.
going to go
Or
get
it's
my
some sort of
OnlyFans.
ideal situation for them. Like, I
Right.
mean, like there's benefits. Yeah, you're making money off of sex,
You're
but
not.
we're
You're
not.
not. That's the
But
problem.
yeah,
Your trafficker is, and that's
yeah.
the point. Is that um you know I won't, I'll try not to get political about this, but I think that the idea, like this whole like sex work is real work thing, really doesn't take into account the fact that it's still illegal, right? So you have a lot of sex traffickers who are exploiting the fact that there are women who can be exploited.
Mhm.
um I'm gonna butcher this quote that I had seen earlier that a sex trafficker had come onto, I think he said something to the effect of like, as long as there are people in power, there will be people who can be exploited into people buying them, essentially.
Mhm.
And that's what sex work truly is. I mean, like, in looking at the statistics of sex work, particularly in New Mexico, and I'm getting this, I'll cite my sources, but about 79 to 86% of the sex work that is happening in New Mexico and in the country are sex trafficking victims. So, um, it's tragic. It's a really horrible thing that's happening on a daily basis. That you look at women who are walking down the street, right, who look like they're so-called prostitutes, and you pass judgment on them. And the fact is that a lot of the stories start, and I've written about this, so I feel like I can say this. That it starts with becoming addicted, right? Where you fall in love at a young age. You're under 18. Someone comes and just like starts grooming you, and they're older, and your family life isn't good, and you become, attracted to this person and addicted to the things that they get addicted to. You are susceptible to peer pressure and to drug abuse. So that's the way that these stories typically start. What also happens is that um, these women will alienate themselves, or I shouldn't say that actually. It's the traffickers who end up alienating them from their families. So you have a lot of like so-called runaways, right? Where these families aren't hearing from their family member for months at a time, and they, kind of give up on them to a certain degree. That is the reality that David Parker Ray was able to get away with what he got away with. And that's the basis for this. And I want that to be at the forefront of this story, because that's what I don't think was getting the justification that it deserved in the stories that were being told. Because these are women who have come across the worst of times, and it's like unthinkable that in America, in today's world, that this can happen. But it's just a fact. So sorry.
No, you're
um
good.
yeah, so anyway, so that's the beginning. That's kind of the premise of what happened. So going back to Satan's Den and what was going on with TRC and Elephant Butte, you had David Parker Ray and his partner, Cindy Hindi.
Cindy Hindi?
I still can't get over her name. Cindy Handy. Yeah,
Well,
that's her
I'm
name.
not shocked anymore that she was taking part in this.
Right. I mean, with that kind of a name, she didn't stand a chance, really.
No way.
No, no. So, and she's not an innocent person in this by any means. And, I think that a lot of the times will, undercut, that this is a woman who's involved, blah, blah, blah.
Right, but I bet she also
No,
is in a lot of ways in a power differential with this guy where she is forced to take part in his crimes. So I don't want to jump
right.
to conclusions that she's like taking part willingly in these crimes.
No, for sure. I mean, I think like, jumping back a step, and this is the step that I probably would have gone to if I was the criminal defense attorney in this case, is both of these people, Cindy Hindi and David Parker Ray, had really awful childhoods.
Hmm.
But honestly, who among us has not?
Who
None.
hasn't?
But in any case, so at a certain point, the Blue Water Saloon was becoming too diluted. And so they had to move up to Albuquerque, and they would be picking sex workers off of the street. And so that's the types of victims that David Parker Ray would pick for what he would do to them. And I'm going to try and be as respectful as I can to the victims involved, because this is not my story. This is their story. I want to, be respectful to the fact that like what he did was truly horrendous. And in any case, so he would pick these sex workers up from Albuquerque in his RV. This is before Breaking Bad, and take them down to Satan's lair and do what he would with them. and torture, rape them for days on end. And the weird thing about this was that he would let them go. So he was a no, was it Vietnam? I think it was Vietnam. It had to have been Vietnam. He was a Vietnam veteran. He was active when MK Ultra was becoming a thing, and so he this is the rumor, had learned a lot of these tactics while he was deployed. So we know of the victims that he had here in America. We know some of them. We don't know all of them. There's arguably over 60 women that he raped and some of them killed and tortured. And a good majority of them he actually let go. But they think that he learned these tactics in Vietnam, where there were a lot of sex workers, and so that's probably where he started learning about who he could take in and who he could not, who would go missing and people would miss and who would not. And so, but what he learned while he was over there was how to use mind control and MK Ultra and drugs. Excuse me. I'm sorry. But
Gesundheit.
he right. Um, so he'd use these tactics. He would use drugs and mind control and all these things to basically erase these women's memories. They would not remember ever being at his house. And so
What?
yeah. So this is where this case is bizarre. I don't know that I've heard of another case like this, but it's true because there's a particular case. So after I'm bouncing around a lot, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try and go one step forward, two steps back, and then we'll end up at the end and it'll all tie up nicely. That's at least in my head what's going on. So
Go for it.
uh,
Don't let me get in the way.
yeah, so there was one woman who when they had caught him, he had a bunch of videotapes, and there were women who were in these videotapes that they couldn't identify, and so the FBI actually put out some of um, the videos trying to figure out who these women were, and there was one woman who her boyfriend, kind of noticed her memory got kind of weird after she went down to T or C or something like that. And, kind of didn't really think anything of it after that. Like there was always something weird afterwards. And he always had this idea that like maybe something had happened there, but never had, like, she never said anything had happened. So these tapes come out and her tattoo is in one of those tapes. And that's the only way that they were able to identify her. And so she's seeing this tape and it brings it all back. So
Oh, dang.
yeah, she did not remember anything that had happened to her. And so, this is just like the creepiest thing that like she was wandering around. What happened was like, like I said, she was in Elephant Butte. She kind of was wandering out kind of dazed, like after this had happened, she'd been missing for a few days, and her boyfriend, comes up to her afterwards, like, she had gotten taken in, I think, by law enforcement or something. And her boyfriend comes and picks her up and notices like this weird stuff is happening to her, but like she can't say what happened to her. So yeah. Um, and then there's this other case where um, David Parker Ray was out in California, and he takes this girl, and I think she's underage. I think she's probably in her teens, and who had gone missing. Takes her back to her family and acts like a good Samaritan. This is so fucking creepy.
Ugh.
Act like he was a good Samaritan, takes her back to her parents and says, "Hey, your daughter was just wandering around and we just found her. She said what her address was. So here you go. Here's your daughter." Well, turns out like obviously he had like, been torturing her and raping her for like the past however many days. But she didn't remember any of it because of this mind control shit. Like absolutely nuts. And so the mom has actually gone on interviews after the fact, because like when he came out, she was like that's the fucking guy. That's the guy who brought my daughter back, right? So, yeah. So this is real. Like I'm not making this up. I know it sounds like totally far-fetched.
No,
And
it's so demented though. It's like a new level of demented. The whole returning them and being like, "Ah, I'm so awesome," and then
yeah,
just it's so gross. I mean, I should have known something was wrong when I heard he had three first names. First of all,
it's so
um,
true. That's
like
the
as soon
thing.
as you said it, I was like, the creep factor just went through the roof. If I were on a first date with someone and they gave me three first names, I'd be like, this
Mhm.
date is over. You are paying for the bill because I'm out of here.
Check, please.
No, I'm not even paying. I'm out.
Let me
You're
take this
paying.
most important. Yeah, yeah. Just let me know when
Anyways,
you think of
David
your
Parker Ray,
question.
don't trust him because he has three first names, and
Yeah.
he is a serious kind of demented. I wanted to take note that it's interesting that he uses brainwashing as a technique because I mean, like I wanted to cover an episode on brainwashing, so
Mm,
maybe that could be my next episode because I am so fascinated. I obviously he's targeting a specific type of person who already has some sort of vulnerabilities, whether it's substance
mhm.
abuse, some sort of mental illness, something. But you know, there's certain things, characteristics that make people good targets for brainwashing. And so this whole thing
Definitely.
fascinates me how he chose his targets and then I just the whole brainwashing and being able to return them after doing what he wants with them because I mean murder is usually what you were left to do, like you had to murder them
Right.
because if you let
Right.
them go they could identify you. You're done. You couldn't be a serial rapist that wasn't also a serial killer because you'd eventually be found.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So you have to be pretty confident in your skills of brainwashing to be able to let these people go.
Right.
But he didn't say that like he had brainwashed and let go all of them. So like I said, there were 60 women. You know, he I think was ultimately tried for I want to say 6. So not a whole lot. And we'll get to the trial. We'll get to some of those things here in a little bit. But he did, start confessing. He did start talking to law enforcement and bragging, as many of them do, as you know, because they're pieces of fucking shit. And
Narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic assholes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this guy is nothing but a fucking piece of shit. Fuck that guy, and his whole family. So respectfully,
Respectfully, in front of each other in the
right?
street so that all the
Sure.
neighbors can also watch.
Something like that. So, okay, so getting back to kind of the origins and coming forward. So David Parker Ray grew up in a neglected household, like, whatever. Like he hated his grandma, like he fucked, holes in the earth that he would create himself because he's, a weirdo. Um,
What? Wait, hang
yeah,
on. You can't just say that and not like explain what any of those words mean together.
sure.
He would
I mean,
fuck
I'm happy to.
holes in the earth.
Yeah. So, so he talked about like some of the weird shit that he used to do as a kid. And one of the things that he did, which like still like, I'm just wondering if he ever got an infection from it or anything, but he would he would dig holes into the earth, stick his dick in it and fuck it.
Would
Like
he
that's
at
what he
least
would
like
do.
moisten it with something like water? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine like dry dirt feeling great.
That's what I was thinking too. I mean, like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But
Okay.
but he like
He
like a lot
literally
of our
fucked holes in the
he
earth.
fucked holes in the earth because he was that fucking pathetic of a fucking human being that, he didn't have anything better to do than to do
But
that,
he was doing this as a child. You've got to be some
Yeah.
kind of messed up to be doing that as a
Oh,
child.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't get into
Like
that's where
yeah, I almost feel bad. Like there must have been psychologically something that happened, whether nature or nurture. You know, he might blame it on the whole bad family thing, but there might be
Mhm.
something else biologically going on there. But that's not normal behavior for a child to exhibit. Like, I mean, I know some kids who like put their dick up to like the hot tub jet, but like, come on, you don't dig a hole and fuck it. That's like
And fuck it.
a weird amount of planning. Like, I don't know, like it's not like even the American Pie thing. It's not like fucking a pie.
No,
I don't know. It's just
it's
weird.
deranged. It's deranged. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
so he
so it
probably
makes me
had like,
wonder what's wrong with him, like as a child to
well,
be doing that.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's where I was heading. So, so he hated his grandmother. He lived with his grandmother for a while. Hated his mom. His mom was like neglectful. His dad was an abusive alcoholic and would give him these like BDSM, very hardcore pornographic magazines as a young child. Like, I mean, he's 10 years old, and this is what he's seeing. And so he, very early on had these fantasies about like torturing and raping and killing women with broken bottles.
Ah,
I
no.
know, I know. I'm sorry. So, and I mean, and that just like that's just the surface level of the level of like derangement. I don't know if that's a word. Is that a word?
Der-
We're gonna
der-
call it a word.
deranged.
Deranged.
It sounds okay.
Sure. You'd think I would know that.
Hey,
Like,
we've got Juris Doctorates. We're allowed to make up words now.
I think that's the
We just
license
have
that
to
I would
use it
take.
often enough.
It's literally written on our license, allowed to make up words. So
I'm going to use derangement like 10
derangement.
times tomorrow, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think me too. I certainly can, because there's a lot of stuff that I have that is deranged. So,
You more so than I.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So tis life. All right. So yeah, so he had a fucked up childhood, whatever. Like his mom, grandma, and dad all sucked. And he was married actually four times. Had a couple of children. So now we're going to get into his associates, we'll call them. So I told you about Cindy Hindi.
Cindy Hindi.
Cindy Hindi, yeah, can't forget her. Never going to forget that name.
Never.
So Cindy Hindi was his girlfriend at the time, and also had like a fucked up past. I think, what was her deal? She'd been molested as a kid, wasn't believed, and then was kicked out by her mom. That's what happened. Kicked
Ugh.
out by her mom at age 12 because her mom chose her boyfriend over her daughter. Yeah.
Okay, so are any of these parents arrested in the end? Because
You
I
would
feel like it
wish
all
so.
starts with them.
It certainly does, and I am sorry to say that there is no happy ending at all to any of this. And like
Fine,
I
I'll
said,
still listen.
I know. I'm really sorry. Like, this is just scratching the surface, and I feel like we probably need to do a follow-up episode on this at some point. But I think we probably need to, take a break from this for a minute before we come back to it. But I'm just kind of getting into kind of just the background and the history of like of what was going on in the area, and how he came to be. So like I said, so he had this girlfriend, Cindy Hindi. He had been in 3 other marriages prior to that. He had been in the army, and here's where it gets real weird. He was a park ranger. So he and again, like I'm only going to say this on a surface level. Again, it's not my story to tell. But for a lot of women who live on the streets, they can't trust the police, right?
Right.
Because they're going to be arrested. So like imagine being someone is who's being abused or raped or whatever, and you don't have anywhere to go. And
You
the men
can't go
who are
for help.
doing this to you, they know that. They know that you can't go to the police because you'll be arrested for prostitution, right? And they're not going to face any consequences because no one's going to believe you. And that was what was going on with David Parker Ray. Was like he had actually his own daughter ratted him out, and she was not believed. Like she was telling the FBI this is in Texas, like before he had even gotten to New Mexico. She had gone to them and said like, my dad has done all of this shit to all of these women, but she didn't have specific enough information in order to get him arrested. And the shit that she was saying, is so deranged, because like we haven't even gotten into his crimes, because they are horrific and the scariest shit that I've ever heard. So in any case, like, this is the background. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a guy who knows his privilege as a man, for one. Like, and I feel like I go a little bit too into that, but I think it does need to be said. I think there is context that needs to be said about that, which is that, he knows what he's up against. He really knows how to play the system, and he knows that the women that he is targeting are women that aren't going to be believed by law enforcement, because he's law enforcement himself. And so the story that I was going to say was that when he was ultimately caught, the woman who brought him down, who is my fucking hero, I love her, she told the police, he's one of you. He's one of you. Because that's how she saw him, and that's how he got her, was that he said that she was under arrest for solicitation. And so she, like, so that's the power that he was using against these women. And that's just, dipping into how he would get them.
Right.
And getting into what he would actually do to them. So he was this is like so unbelievable, because it's so many different stories, like layered on each other. It's like Jigsaw from Saw. um it's like House of a Thousand Corpses. It's like Texas Chainsaw Murder, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, sorry.
One of those M
um
words.
all of those things, um and roll them into one, and you get David Parker Ray. um so um so he, lived out in this remote area. He actually created this satanic sex cult, which I know it sounds so unbelievable. And
It
at
kind
some
of
point I
sounds
do.
cool. I'm not gonna lie. You had me at satanic, and I was like,
Mhm.
and then you said sex, and then I was like, oh, and then you said cult, and I was like, three magic words. I'm in. Just kidding.
I know. Well, I mean, it sounds like something I might join.
Right? I was like, wait, what's wrong with this so far? I
Yeah,
don't see anything
nothing so
wrong with
far.
making a satanic sex cult.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
seems
Well, I
normal.
mean, yeah, well, during the time too, like, so he's operating in the 80s, which is the height of the Satanic Panic, which is crazy, because the Satanic Panic is a totally like made up like thing, right? Like, it's evangelical Christians who, were totally scared of Marilyn Manson type, and the people that they should have been scared of are the fucking park rangers, like
The
David
Park
Parker
Rangers.
Ray.
Yes.
Yeah, because those were real. Like, he was real. Like, he was a satanic sex cult leader, a very small one. It's from
It
Elephant
wasn't
Butte,
that
New
good. It wasn't that
Mexico.
good of a sex cult.
No, no. I mean, you didn't really want to. It wasn't like your, Jonestown or anything
No.
like that. That wasn't satanic, but still.
What?
Eventually, I'm going to cover Jonestown. It's another one of my
Hell
favorites.
yeah,
But
I
like,
love that one. I love cults. We're gonna cult it up.
we definitely are. But yeah, so he had his neighbors around, and he would have these wild like sex parties where he would display the women that he had captured, and do horrible things to them in front of everybody. So like, this was his satanic sex cult. So it's not a fun satanic sex cult. It's more of a satanic like rape cult, torture cult. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's all of the things that like we should have been worried about, but not the people who, like, we were told to be worried about. Not the Ozzy Osbournes, not all
Yeah.
the people that like we were into when we were
Right.
teenagers, in our metal phase or whatever. Um, but no, it was David Parker Ray types. It was the ones who were operating at the at the power level, right? Because you get that kind of power and you think that you can do anything. And so that's, I mean, park ranger, I say that, and no, like, I mean, he had the power to drive his truck around Elephant Butte, but like,
Right? You keep saying like you keep saying like, oh, he was arresting me. And I was like, for fishing illegally? What was he
you don't
arresting you
have your
for?
fishing license, madam. You must come with me.
It's like,
No,
that doesn't seem right.
no, it certainly was not right. But no, but he used the pretense of power, I guess is what I should say. Like, it's I hate
When
to
you
say
get a
this.
uniform and you get a car with a logo on it, like it's power. Whether it's a park ranger or a real cop, a rent-a-cop, anyone, it gives people power. They've done studies on this about how all you got to do is give men sunglasses, and
Right.
all of a sudden they're able to disassociate from humanity and do really horrible, evil things. Okay, that might
That's
have been a
exactly
really
it.
big stretch, by the way. I think it takes more than just sunglasses to turn men into that. But
Depends on the kind of sunglasses. If they're like Ray-Bans, then
right, they're
absolutely.
like, these are so dope. I see no
Mhm,
humans.
mhm, yes. Well, it's like the Stanford Project and those kinds of
Yeah,
things too. Like, and that's something that I would love to cover at some point too. But like, but the point is, I think that the less like actual power you have, the more dangerous you might actually be. Because
right.
like you mentioned rent a cops, whoever they are, rent a cops. Um, but those are the ones that you got to watch out the most for because they think that they have the most power and then they end up like, shooting you or whatever it is. Like, don't give them guns. But that's the point is like, this guy was a park ranger. There's not a whole lot of like power associated with that.
Right,
It's
but
the
he
power
has
that
this inflated sense of power as a result of it. And even though he may
exactly.
not have any real power, he's more dangerous because of his perceived power.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So yeah, so he used that power and to the end that his superiors and people who were involved with him were actually coming to his aid, and he actually went on leave, paid leave, when he was actually caught because his superiors did not believe that he was involved with any of this. They thought it was so far fetched. They were just like, no, we're going to put you on paid leave, and this will all blow over and it'll be fine. And clearly they were wrong.
Wow.
So yeah, so he pulled in a bunch of people. So here's I'm gonna get to kind of like the end of this by going through something. So
Okay,
so
let's just run right through it.
we're going there. So he built this sex cult with his neighbors. So in rural New Mexico, like where, there's a house a mile apart, right? And he would pull in his neighbors and they would all come to his sex parties and abide by whatever weird ass shit that he was like involved with. And they all knew all of the terrible things that he was doing to these women. And one of the things that I didn't get into, which is covered a lot, so I don't think that I need to cover it anymore. But he played this tape for the women that he would uh, kidnap, and he would play it at the beginning of it. There's transcripts of it online everywhere. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. Like if you want to listen to it, you have the opportunity to do that. But like I said, I don't want to like make anything more traumatic than it already is. Um, and so these people, my point is, these people were aware of what he was doing. They were watching what he was doing. Like I said, I wasn't really going to get into this, but like I feel like I have to say this. Um, so I talked about like all of the instruments that he would use. The worst thing, and I've never heard of anyone else doing anything so horrific. He would train his dogs to rape the women that he would bring in. I know, I know. I'm sorry. Like it's the worst thing, and he talks about it on the tape. It's really awful. And so these people who were the neighbors were watching this happen with the dogs, right? um and he goes into this really grotesque, like disgusting detail about like how the, you know, how the dogs do it, what's involved with their genitalia. Like it's just awful. um but the point is that when things came to a head, you know, there's the women who got away, I suppose, by, you know, MK Ultra or whatever it was that he was doing to them, mind washing, brainwashing them into, you know, not knowing what happened to them, or the ones that were killed. And there were the ones that were killed. Um, God, I don't have time to get into the ones that were killed, and I think that's why I have to go into this later. But the last person who got away from him knew that he was having these, you know, weird, like quote unquote sex parties with his neighbors. Can't trust anyone going down that road once she had escaped. And got very lucky and was able to find some neighbors to actually help, and ultimately took him down. But I just can't imagine, you know, being in this situation where, what kind of fucked up neighborhood do you live in where you don't know if your fucking neighbor is like involved with like these like women being kidnapped and like mutilated and raped and tortured
And
right
it's
next
not
door to
like
you?
and it's not like it's just a street with like 5 houses lined up and all 5 of those people do it. It is miles in between these houses. You don't know who is involved and who isn't. You're on stretches of road where there's no houses, and the first person who comes up
Right.
on you may or may not be someone involved in this sex cult.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, just absolutely horrifying. It is a horror movie in real life. And unfortunately, a whole lot of women went through it. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of women probably are going through other things similar to that. New Mexico has a whole lot of awful murders, and I'll probably cover a lot of them because I know them all. You know, because one of the other things is that so this was like I said, in the 90s. He was ultimately taken down March 30th of 1999, in a very dramatic like takedown by the officers. It's like, all right, I guess I have to say that. Okay, so um so there's a very like, this hero of our story, who again, like I'm going to let her tell her story, part of that, but like, but we'll get into the law enforcement. So
Yeah.
they get a 911 call from inside the house, right? It comes from inside the house, and 911 is like weirded out because there's just like a scuffle going on. Don't really know, like, and she's like, something's off there. So they send officers into the house, and you can just imagine this like in a very Hollywood dramatic like type of scenario where they don't have a search warrant yet, but they can at least kind of go and do like a welfare check, you know, and go and see, you know, if they can see anybody who might be injured or who might be harmful to others. And that's called a security sweep. It's pretty limited, and we don't need to get into like Fourth Amendment stuff. I'll get like really wonky really fast if we go down that road.
You'll nerd out
But
hardcore.
yeah, I don't need to go like legal nerd today. But I can at least say that they were doing a security sweep. It was not unconstitutional. There's no like reason why they couldn't do that. But what they saw allowed them to ultimately get the search warrant that they got in the case. And so because they're flashing their flashlights around in this fucking trailer, and there's just like, there's chains on the walls, there's like sex toys all over the place. Like the place is gross. Like he lived in absolute filth. He's a filthy person. He's disgusting. Dog shit on the, you know, on the ground. Like he's just gross. But you know, they see enough like to where they're like, we've got to get a search warrant. And they had that like really weird 911 call, and then they ultimately talked to this woman who brought him down. And there's actually two women who brought him down, um, by talking about what had happened to them. So in any case, they then finally track down his car, find out who he was because they have the address, they have his name that's on a like a mailbox, and there's pictures of this everywhere online, so like you can look at it. If I can figure out how to put the link on it, I will. I am going to put a link, and I'll get to that at the end, for the organization that I think like we need to support in support of this cause. Um, so fucking Sierra County Sheriff's Office or whatever the hell, TRC and Elephant Butte Security League go out and they go and find him and Cindy Hindi, and there's a bunch of them. They just come up on him, all action movie style, and pull him over, and he puts his hands up. He's like, "This is not necessary," and then he goes to jail, and she goes to jail, and they both he goes to trial. She pleads out. They talk to her first because they figure talking to the woman first, and it kind of works. She gives them a lot of information, but the whole reason that David Parker Ray went down was because of the women who were brave enough to come forward and actually talk about their stories and what happened to them. So like, fucking hats off to them, man. Like,
yes, thank you, women.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And so so like I said, he went to trial. I looked at, I know the lawyer who represented him. He's a public defender. He's been a public defender for a very long time. And we kind of got into a fight. So I don't know if he's going to like want to talk to me, but I may reach out to him and see if he wants to like talk about this case with us. There's a few people, like I said, this case is really close to me. I know a lot of the people involved, and I know a lot of like the area and this kind of thing. And so if I can pull people in who know about it, then I will. And that's why I think like, it's something that we'll probably need to come back to. So the happily ever after of the story is that he was ultimately sentenced after a very long and excruciating trial and appeal that was shot down immediately. He received a sentence of 224 years. And then he died about 80 days into his sentence.
Wait, what?
From a heart attack. I know. It's so unsatisfying.
He died 80 days into his... Oh my God, I'm so mad.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news for you, but...
From a heart attack? Ugh.
I know. Yeah. So that was the fate of the awful and terrible David Parker Ray, the Toybox killer, which someone said this on a different podcast. I feel like it's been said before, but like we really need to stop giving serial killers these like really cool names. Like the better the crime, like the worse the name should be. Like little peepee hearted, like shithead, like fucking Dirt Boy. That's what his name should have been. Fuck Dirt
Boy. Yeah, Dirt Fucker.
Dirt Fucker.
Yeah, you fucking Dirt Fucker.
Dirt Fucker. Actually, that's probably what I'm going to call this episode. Actually, is Dirt Fucker.
Dirt Fucker. Ooh, I love it.
We're not going to dignify him with the name Toybox Killer. Like, he doesn't deserve any kind of romanticism for the crimes that he committed. He's a fucking Dirt Fucker.
Well, and I think I can't remember what serial killer it was. It might have been... No, I don't know. I'm not going to even try to guess, but I'll look it up. There was one serial killer where the media went through like 5 different names for this person. And when they finally landed on it, the crimes got so much worse because they were so empowered by the really awesome name the media gave them. I cannot for the life of me remember who it was. It might have been like the Torso Killer or like...
Oh God, one of those.
Yeah, or it might have been the Zodiac Killer. No, because yes, it might have been the Zodiac Killer because the Zodiac Killer did not identify himself as the Zodiac Killer until his letters which were later. I don't know. I might be making that up. Never mind. I knew I speculated.
Well, I think that's something for you to look up, and you can do an episode on the naming of Zodiac or Zodiac killers, on serial killers.
Naming of serial killers. I'll do that. I've got that. I've got brainwashing I want to do. I also
You
want
got
to
some
do
work ahead of you.
I want to do like dreams and nightmares in particular, like nightmares.
Those are
And
good.
like, I thought it would be really fun if you told me some of your nightmares and then I'd look it up and tell
Ooh,
you what's psychologically wrong with you.
great.
No, I'm just kidding. But
Please do.
like all
I've
of a
got a
sudden,
lot of them. I will tell you all of them.
oh, you
There are a
dream
lot of
about your
recurring
teeth
ones.
falling out? That means that everyone hates you and no one wants to be your friend. Just kidding. Oh God, that would have been rude. I'd never do that.
That's okay. I mean, I already knew it.
No, it's so not true. Although we
No.
both had those moments today, I think, where we were like
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's just part of our personalities. It's fine.
trying to figure out if people are mad at us.
Are you mad? I know that's actually how I wanted to start the episode. Like, are you
Are
mad
you
at
mad
me?
at me? So great.
So no, I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you either.
I'm so happy we had this talk.
Me too. At the end of the episode, now everyone knows
Yeah.
that we're not mad. Wait, I assumed it's the end of the episode. Is it the end of the?
It is. It is. The only epilogue that I was going to say was that so a few years after David Parker Ray had died, and his associates were actually also tried and convicted, and ultimately served more lengthy terms on probation violations than they did on the actual sentences that they faced. One of them was actually facing a murder charge, and spent more time based on a DWI that he had gotten on a revocation of his probation. So fuck Dennis Yancey, fuck him in the ass. Like with that, like, you know, that devil that we talked about with like the wheelbarrow. Fuck him with that wheelbarrow dick.
Wheelbarrow
Devil
dick. Get
Mhm.
fucking
Right in the ass. Yeah, right up into his throat. Sorry, that was like way too graphic. I did not
Whoa,
mean to go
everyone got that visualization. You're welcome.
Sorry. Did not mean to go that far. But yeah, so a few years after that had happened, the West Mesa murders started popping up. And that, you know, was the situation, in case, you know, people from New Mexico are listen, our German listener, to our German listener.
To our German listener, it's a very big deal, okay?
Very big deal. So that was where a bone got discovered because a dog in this like new development out on the west side of Albuquerque discovered this like bone, a femur that belonged to a human, and ultimately uncovered, what, 17 was it? I think it was
like
17.
13 to 17, yeah, something like
Mhm.
that.
And there's a whole bunch of theories as to, and that's probably one I'll cover as well. But David Parker Ray built into that, like, they believe that some of the bodies may have been victims of David Parker Ray.
Interesting. Do we know for sure that any of them might have been, or is it just
We
speculative?
don't know. It's speculation. I think everything kind of about that story ended up being kind of speculative because a lot of the suspects involved died. So
Right.
really hard to be able to determine what had happened. But I think that it's probably, I don't know if I want to say like common knowledge, but it's something that I think a lot of people believe, that that it wasn't just one person that was involved with those murders. So it was a bunch of people. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that
sense.
maybe David Parker Ray was one of them.
Interesting.
So, yeah. They also discovered a bunch of bodies and body parts in Elephant Butte. As bringing it, I told you I was going to bring it back full circle.
Came back
You
around.
doubted me, but here we are.
I never doubt you.
And as a kid, we used to joke about there being bodies, like I said at the beginning, in the lake, and they did find a bunch of body parts when the lake, thanks to global warming, thank you, Al Gore, for global warming, and for the fact that, like, it's basically a reservoir that is completely gone now. Used to be one of the biggest reservoirs in America, and now that it is mostly gone, there's a bunch of body parts coming and afloat.
It's kind of like what's
They have
going on
no
with Lake
way.
Mead.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And that's definitely like the mob.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
mafia.
definitely mob. And like these bodies in
Mhm.
Elephant Butte they could be cartel, they could be just three first name person victims like David
Never trust
Parker
anyone.
Ray. Yeah, like I mean I think there's probably lots of perpetrators who contributed to those bodies in Elephant Butte.
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah. So in any case, that's the conclusion of at least this portion of the story of Dirt Fucker.
Dirt fucker.
Yeah. We will
um,
not give him the name anymore.
no,
It is
and that was so spooky. Very
well,
spooky
happy
on this
Halloween.
one. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
I know I went like way over on this, but like I've been obsessed with this case since it came out. I was a teenager when it came out, and so I've followed it ever since. And like I said, um, it's something that's near and especially with the women who are involved,
Right.
and being able to tell their stories in a
Give
way
them a
that like
voice.
right, right. I think that we got to stop clutching our goddamn pearls. I think we've got to like get into the dirt with them and like and see what their life is about and try and do what we can to help them out. So with that, I'm going to give you the organization that I would like to contribute to as part of this podcast, as part of like something that is near and dear to my heart. And the organization that the woman who took down David Parker Ray
Dirt
helped co
fucker.
Dirt Fucker. Dirt Fucker. She took down Dirt Fucker fucking single-handedly. Her story is so incredible. It's out there everywhere, and I mean like you can look into it, but like I said, I want her to tell it if she's going to tell it. I've told it, among friends, but it's her story. And ultimately like she should be the one to tell it. And so but her organization is incredible. It's like I said, it's where the statistics that I came up with, I volunteered with them for a little while. I know a lot of their volunteers are just incredible human beings. And their organization is called Street Safe New Mexico. And what they do is they get down on the street level, and they give resources to women who are living on the streets who are sex workers, for whatever reason. Does not matter, whether they're sex trafficking victims or otherwise, knowing that a good majority of them are going to be sex trafficking victims. And so they give clothes, they give hygiene, all kinds of things, and really are just trying to be allies and just trying to be out there and letting these women know that they have someone who has their back. And one of the ways that they do this, which I think is really cool, and why I think that they would be, okay with us talking about the dirt fucker, is that they come up with a what they call a bad guys list, and they talk to the women about the men who have done terrible things to them. And like, there's times that I can talk about, I won't get into specifics, where women have come to us, like as volunteers of that organization, and have said the most like horrendous things that have happened to them in hotel rooms. Women who've been murdered, women who've been raped, and they're just hysterical about what's happened to them, and they have a place to go to because of Street Safe New Mexico, and that's why I want to support them. So I'm going to add the link. I have the address. It is streetsafenewmexico.org is the name of the website to contribute to. I like highly encourage anybody who gives a shit about this as I do, as much as I do, to make a contribution to them, because they really do good work, and the work goes directly to the women that they're serving. It's not an organization where they're giving to their lobbyists and advocacy and blah 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 blah, and like and then none of the stuff actually goes to the women that they're serving. It goes directly to them. And you see that they're literally operating out of the back of their own car, and providing all of these like resources and developing these things based on their own interactions with the women that they're involved with. And so that's why I support them so strongly. Like I think they're incredible. and they do incredible work. And hopefully we'll be able to, get them to come on and maybe talk more about what they do. So, but that's I'll drop a link to that organization, and with that, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. I've learned so much. Thank
I
you.
know. I feel like I just kind of spewed at you, and I'm so sorry. Like I knew that was going to happen as soon as I decided that Toybox Killer, sorry, Dirt Fucker, was going to be my topic of the day. So I thank you for having the patience and listening to me talk about it, and hopefully we'll be able to come back to it and talk about it in another episode.
Yeah, well,
So
I love listening to anything you have to say, and I'm excited for next time. I am going out of town for whatever. We'll talk about this. Not, never mind.
well,
Listeners,
yeah,
don't listen.
it's okay. We the next one that I was thinking we could, because it's also election season, and I've been
Yeah,
dying to have it ever since the fucking Lauren Boebert shit that came up. I
yeah.
want to do like the most deranged shit that like politicians have done in history.
Okay.
So I feel like we can both cover that. And then you have the floor. I've been like kind of
Yeah, no, no,
taking
no.
over.
No,
So
take your time because I actually need you to kind of carry the torch for a while because I mean, first of all, the whole wedding thing was insane.
happy wedding,
Happy wedding.
by the way.
And then second of all, I'm going to Puerto Rico this weekend and I'm going to be gone for a week. So,
Awesome. Well,
yeah,
cool. Well, enjoy your trip out there,
I will.
Axolotl.
A hexalotl. I won't have my mic with me, so we might have to skip a week. But
That's okay. It'll give me a week to learn more about Lauren Boebert and all the fucked up shit that's going on with that.
awesome! I can't wait to hear these stories.
It'll be fun.
You know what
I've
we should
enjoyed it.
do? You know what we should
What's
do?
that?
We should stop recording before we get off the phone, the call, so it uploads. Isn't that how we do it?
I think that's usually how we do it. I think I've got us. I've so I think. How do we sign off? Do we just say
I
like,
don't know. I feel like we
"All
did.
right,
We were like, "Happy Halloween." We've already
happy
done that.
Halloween, goodbye,
Happy Halloween. Goodbye.
goodbye"? Okay, I think I can do like a stop.